It was an ordinary afternoon in Riverside Green, a park where joy and everyday life mixed effortlessly. Kids dashed through open fields, families lounged on picnic blankets, and the sharp squeak of sneakers echoed from the basketball court. The sunlight carried a sense of ease, but hidden in that calm was a moment that would spark outrage. Officer Brian Dalton, tall and imposing, stood with crossed arms near the court, his gaze scanning with a cold, calculated stare. His uniform was flawless, but the people of the neighborhood knew better. Where he went, whispers followed, stories of targeting the voiceless, reacting harshly over trivial gestures. It was clear. He wasn't just there to keep peace. He was looking for someone to provoke. On a bench nearby sat Natalie Reyes, a composed woman in her 30s with a quiet strength. Wearing dark sunglasses and sipping water, she chatted casually with friends. Few knew she worked as a federal investigator, her badge carefully hidden beneath her jacket. Natalie believed in stepping in only when truly needed. She preferred to blend in, but fate had other plans that day. A sudden clatter broke through the park's hum. Near the court, a young black girl named Layla had tripped, sending a bottle of soda rolling to Dalton's boots. The moment turned cold. He snarled without hesitation. "Watch where you're going," he snapped, voice hard as ice. Layla, startled, quickly bent to pick it up. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her hands trembling. Dalton's face darkened. "Sorry isn't—" "Enough," he barked. "You think this is your playground? Show me some ID." The girl froze, unsure what to do, her eyes wide as the park around them fell silent. I don't have it," she said, barely audible. With a sneer, Dalton muttered, "Ignorant and careless. Someone needs to teach you respect." Then, without warning, he shoved Layla so hard she hit the ground. Gasps spread through the crowd, phones raised to record the injustice unfolding. Natalie's calm shifted to resolve. She stood, stepping forward with purpose. "That's enough," she called out, her tone steady and unshakable. Dalton whipped around to face her, his voice venomous. "Stay out of this." "It becomes my business when you assault a child," she replied firmly. "Back off." Some in the crowd shifted uncomfortably, others kept filming. Dalton's eyes narrowed. He stepped closer to Natalie, fists clenched. "You know who I am," he growled. Unfazed, Natalie held her ground. "Do you?" she shot back. Murmur ran through the crowd. Dalton's rage boiled over, and with no warning, he threw a punch. In one seamless motion, Natalie dodged and caught his arm, twisting it behind his back and sending him to the ground with practiced ease. His body slammed onto the pavement with a heavy thud that rippled across the park. The crowd burst into a frenzy. Some cheered, others gasped in disbelief. Dalton let out a groan, more from bruised ego than any injury. He pushed himself up quickly, his face burning with humiliation and rage. Grabbing his radio, his voice trembled. "Requesting backup. Aggressive suspect. Officer attacked." Natalie stood still, her stance alert but non-threatening. "You caused this," she said calmly, her tone unwavering. "Keep recording. People need to see this." Moments later, sirens pierced the air. Police cruisers swerved into the park, doors flinging open as officers jumped out, hands twitching near their holsters. The crowd split, making way with anxious expressions. They surrounded Natalie, Layla, and Dalton. "She assaulted me," Dalton barked from the ground, still furious. "She resisted arrest." Natalie slowly lifted her hands, her ID clearly visible under her coat. "You've all got eyes," she said steadily. "Check the footage. It shows everything." The officers exchanged unsure looks. A murmur spread through the crowd. Some urged Natalie to stand her ground, others pleaded for calm. For a second, Natalie felt the pressure, the weight of the moment pressed down, but she remembered why she stood there. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about what was right. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Justice is never easy. Defending others means stepping into the fire, but sometimes you have to let the truth do the talking. She exhaled deeply, raising her voice. I'm not resisting. Play the videos. Everything's in there. Dalton, still crouched nearby, smirked with false confidence. Took you long enough, he muttered, as the officers moved in to cuff Natalie. But behind that grin was fear of exposure. As they led Natalie away, the park erupted again. Voices shouted her name, others yelled in protest. Layla, gripping. Her phone kept recording. Her voice trembled. Everyone's going to see this. Dalton rose, brushing himself off, but his smirk faded fast. The crowd's judgment hung heavy in the air. The atmosphere was electric, thick with resistance and disbelief. The younger officers looked unsure, exchanging nervous glances. One whispered, "Is she with the Bureau?" That simple question sparked realization. Dalton's confidence began to unravel. He clenched his jaw, trying to steady himself. "This is nonsense," he muttered, but the damage was done. By nightfall, the footage had gone viral. Hashtags like Justice for Layla and Support Natalie were trending across platforms. The story hit news headlines with videos spreading rapidly. People wanted answers. Protests formed outside department buildings. National conversations reignited on racial profiling, on unchecked power. For Layla, it was life-changing. Once quiet and afraid to speak, she now stood at the core of a movement. Inspired by Natalie's courage, she joined local youth initiatives pushing for deep, lasting change. Her voice, once quiet and unsure, grew stronger with each word she spoke. Layla was learning the power of standing up, not just for herself, but for others who felt unseen. As for Natalie, she never expected the spotlight that came with the viral footage. But what she couldn't ignore was the burning frustration over what Officer Dalton had done, and the painful truth that a system meant to serve justice often shielded those who abused it. She knew now this wasn't just about one officer. It was about confronting a much deeper issue, one rooted in power, privilege, and silence. Weeks later, Natalie walked into a detention facility. Dalton had been stripped of his badge and command. He looked different now, smaller, as if the weight of accountability had finally found him. When she stepped into the room, he didn't stand. His eyes narrowed. "What are you doing here?" he mumbled bitterly. Natalie sat across from him, calm and direct. "I came to say something," she replied. "You had a choice. You could have stood for something. You could have used your role to protect, to help, to lead by example, but you chose the other path." Dalton turned his head away, but not before she caught a flash of regret in his expression. He scoffed. "So what now? You think this changes anything?" Natalie rose from her chair, her voice steady and unwavering. "It already has, and it's not about me. It's about the people who now know they're not alone. It's about you finally facing the outcome of your decisions." Without waiting for a response, she walked out, her steps echoing down the stark hallway. Outside, the sun felt warmer, the breeze lighter. Progress was slow. But this was a beginning. A few days later, Natalie returned to Riverside Green. The atmosphere was different. Smiles greeted her. Children waved as she passed. Then she heard a voice call her name. Turning, she saw Layla running toward her, a folded note clutched in her hand. Layla handed it to her. Natalie opened the paper and read, "Because of you, I'm not afraid anymore." Her heart swelled. She looked down at Layla's face, beaming with pride. Natalie gently squeezed her hand. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. As she walked away, the words stayed with her. A quiet reminder that one act of courage can spark something greater. And sometimes, one voice is all it takes to start a wave of change.